But I'm looking at a man in the back. I tell you what, I watched Ron DeSanctimonious getting ready to speak about 6 months ago. He was on a stage with your governor, and your very loyal governor, who's now the least popular governor in the country. And they were getting ready to speak, and it was very interesting. Two young men, they looked like they came out of the Wharton School of Finance. Very handsome guys, obviously from Iowa. He was standing back, and somebody was introducing him. And do you remember this? And they walked up, and they took the podium like this. They were the coolest cats I've ever seen. They weren't like sneaking up, right? They walked on the stage, just lifted everything up, and they just walked off with it, two guys. And the governor was screaming, "You took our podium," and DeSanctimonious is screaming, my podium, my podium." They're standing with that. And they walked off, and then if you watched it a little longer, you see them, they walked around, and you could see them backstage. They just stole the podium. They took it away. I'm dying to find those two guys because I'd love to shake their hand. I don't know if they're in the room. Are they in the room? I don't know. Nobody knows who they are. It was one of the coolest acts I've ever seen in politics. So if you would spread the word, I've never done this before, spread the word. I have to find, I said, I'm going to Iowa. I have to find those two guys, okay? So please look for them. Madam Attorney General, you can do it better than anybody if you put the full force, if you do what they do to me. They have the full force of the Justice Department and against the political opponent of a guy who can't speak well. So if you could do that, I want to find those two people, and I hope you don't prosecute them. They did nothing wrong. Likewise, Nikki Haley opposed my border wall. Do you know she opposed the wall very strongly? She was totally against it, which tells you where she's coming from. She condemned my strong border policies, and in 2016, she stabbed the Republican Party in the back by siding with a gentleman named Barack Hussein Obama. Remember Rush Limbaugh? He goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rush. I'm talking about Barack Hussein Obama." Barack, emphasis on Hussein Obama. He was a piece of work. We gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Remember that? That was great. He was very brave. He fought a hard battle. That last couple of years, he fought a hard battle. But Barack Hussein Obama, she sided with Barack Hussein Obama against me on a thing called the Trump travel ban. And the travel ban meant we want to keep people from terrorist countries out of the United States, if you don't mind. And she fought me on it. I said, "What the hell is she doing?" She was in a different position. But she fought me on it. I wasn't too happy, but I did want to make Henry the governor, so sometimes you do things. She even said illegal aliens were not criminals. Ron and Nikki also want to gut Social Security and Medicare for seniors. Now they're changing their tune, but if they were, it's not going to happen, by the way. First of all, they're both getting killed by Biden in the polls. And I'm beating Biden in every single poll in every single state. So you're not going to do it. Nikki had one rigged poll a long time ago, like 3 months ago. One poll that showed she was up by like 11 or 12 points. And it was a rigged poll. I know the polling group very much. Best poll you can buy. And because they're just as dishonest as these people back here. They're pretty dishonest. So what happens, she uses that to her fare thee well, but she loses every time. She loses in every state. She loses to everybody. And she's really not much of a Republican. She's certainly not MAGA. DeSantis voted 3 times to raise the retirement age on Social Security to at least 70, 3 times. And Nikki Haley says the retirement age of 65 is, quote, her words, way too low. You don't hear that from Trump. Because we have so much money underfoot. We have liquid gold more than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia. We were number 3 or 4 in oil production. And by the time I got out, you have to see this graph, Saudi Arabia, Russia, sort of going a little bit up. And then we're down here, and we're like a rocket. You know, it's like, psh. And we were way number 1. And we were energy independent, but we would have been energy dominant within a few months. We would have been making so much money, we would have started paying off our debt. We would have reduced taxes still further. And that's where we could do so much. And we can also do a lot of cutting. We can also do, is that Nigel Farage, by the way? Oh, you stand up, will you? I'm just looking at this handsome This handsome guy. He's been a backer of mine from day one. I think called Brexit, very non-controversial. And you've been right. They haven't implemented too well, but you've been right. No, we're big fans. Thank you, Nigel. It's really an honor to have you here. Great. You look great. I love these suits. You know, they know how to dress over there. We don't know how to dress like they do. Thank you. Great honor, man. Nikki Haley even supported Rhino Paul Ryan's 2011 plan to destroy Medicare, and the very same plan that led Democrat television ads showing Republicans wheeling Granny off the cliff. Remember the Paul Ryan, Granny off the cliff? Well, DeSanctimonious loves Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan really hurt Fox, although they did very well the other night with their wonderful town hall. Yeah. Thank you very much. But he's a big Paul Ryan fan. Paul Ryan was a disaster as Speaker. You know, when Nancy Pelosi was there, she had subpoenas stacked up on both sides of her desk, and any congressman could walk in and just take one. With Paul Ryan, he had no subpoenas. Congressmen had to go in and beg them, say, Paul, we need it. It's so bad. No, come back and see me in 2 weeks. Come back. He would never. I don't think he issued one subpoena in all the time. And with crazy Nancy, she's crazy. And by the way, I offered her 10,000 troops for January 6th, and I did that 3 or 4 days in advance. And now they've terminated, you know, they've destroyed all of the evidence in that J6 committee of thugs and bad people. But we offered her 10,000. If she would have used 500, you wouldn't have had, because that was a very tiny fraction of the, could be 1 million. It was biggest crowd I ever spoke before. A tiny fraction, you wouldn't have had a problem at all, but she turned it down. And she is the reason that you had that problem. She turned it down, and the mayor turned it down, and the mayor turned it down in writing. She said, no, we're not going to do that. And she said she didn't like the look. I said, look, if they don't want to do it. And she's in charge of security, by the way. I'm not. The president is not. The Speaker of the House is in charge of the Capitol of security, which a lot of people don't know because you don't get the facts. And peacefully and patriotically was not even mentioned. You know, whenever they talk about my speech, they leave the words peacefully. It was called peacefully and patriotically. But Paul Ryan was a disaster, a total disaster, a real rhino. I call him a super rhino. And unlike Ron and Nikki, we will always protect Medicare and Social Security for our great seniors. We're not going to hurt our seniors. We're not going to do it. We have so many other things we can do. Nikki Haley also supported a 23% national sales tax. So you go out and buy something, and how is that on the middle class? And how about lower income people? The whole thing is ridiculous, and she fought it really hard. She wanted it and fought for it really hard. In short, radical left Democrats would chew her up and eat her alive. And what they're doing now is they're supporting her in New Hampshire, and Koch is supporting her, who's just nothing but a super rhino globalist version. Ask yourselves, who does the radical left and the Washington swamp fear more? Nikki Haley, Ron DeSanctimonious, or President Donald J. Trump? I can tell you right now. I didn't even used to answer their phone calls. When Koch would call up, I say, forget it, because I thought he was so bad for our